Hello, everyone. Today I am joined with Victoria Collier talking about our upcoming workshop. Victoria, thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
So, everyone, if you haven't heard, we have this amazing workshop coming up in August in Seattle, Washington, the Data Driven Leadership Workshop. Victoria is one of our amazing speakers, and she has owned and operated multiple successful businesses and helps people with how to position themselves to sell their business. So, loving everything you do because helping people transition and find freedom is absolutely at the core of happiness. But, Victoria, give us a little peek behind the scenes on some of what they might hear in at the workshop in August on why is it so important to know your numbers, especially if you're thinking about ever wanting to transition to something different.
Sure. And yeah, I got to start by saying that I didn't plan to be a lawyer when I was younger. After I got past the need and desire to be a doctor, I actually wanted to be an accountant, and so a CPA. And so this is like right up my alley. Anyway, I just love numbers. I love crunching numbers. When I start feeling depressed, personally or in my business, all I have to do is sit down and start crunching numbers, and it immediately inspires me and makes me feel better. So if I sound excited, that's the reason.
I love
So,
it.
when we are building a business, and when we're selling a business, there's two different mindsets, right? And we look at data differently, even though we really shouldn't, because we should always be looking at what if I had to exit tomorrow. And so in the workshop, we're going to be talking about, if you did have to exit tomorrow, what does it look like? And so, for example, I talk a lot about your profit loss statements. I am not a CPA, I am not a bookkeeper, but I see a lot of people's profit loss statements, and my goodness, the variations that I see as to the detail or lack thereof, is wildly different. And so we'll talk about that a bit, because how it is set up and the information and how it is shared makes the difference between a buyer, for example, saying, I really want to know more about this business, versus one that says, kind of like dating. I mean, if you're on a date and you're just kind of deadpan answers and you're not really sharing a whole lot or not presenting it in the right way, somebody's going to be like, meh. But if you're interesting, if you're a bit detailed and you're organized, you're kind of interesting.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, and it also the numbers tell such a story. And if it's just there's no organization to the P&L, it's hard to say, "Oh, it looks like the marketing team is like way off their point," or it's hard to even kind of see what's going on if it's not in some kind of organization.
Correct, correct. And let's pretend it's organized, but you don't have the data. For example, when I send a client questionnaire to somebody, before I start working with them, and they say we do newsletters and we have podcasts and we, do Facebook or whatever. And then I say, well, what are your leads every month on that? And then what's your conversion from that? They have no idea any of that stuff. All they know is how much they're spending. They're not knowing, what's the
Yeah.
return on that. Well, a buyer wants to know what the return on that is. A good CEO wants to know what the return is on that.
Well, and it can help so much in leading and redirecting your team to kind of say, "Hey, that's great. I know you have fun over there in social media land or in whatever, but what are we really getting out of it? Maybe we need to do something else." And redirecting the team into other areas or to encourage them to explore in different areas versus what's our gravy? What's the area that does great? Don't stop doing that.
Right. And Kristen, that extends not just to our marketing, but it touches on our marketing, but that extends to even what services do we offer, which ones actually are profitable, which ones are not, and how do we know that? How do we measure that? And I will tell you this, if you're not requiring your team to chart their time, then you can't measure it. There is just no way. And I get it. I am against hourly billing as well. But there's a whole other reason why people should be charting their time. And one is profitability, not just in general, but based on each service you have. And so I'd love to make sure that we have a conversation about that in August as well.
Oh, we will, because that's part of recognizing. I talk about it with kind of in family law with prenups versus contested divorce. Sometimes it's fun to shift for a few minutes and practice a little happy law. Okay, now 2 years ago you got divorced. Now it's time to transition. Let's talk about that prenup and getting everybody on
Mm,
the same page with the blended families. It's a good thing to help people with.
mm,
It's a little bit of happy law rather than, arguing and contested at times. And
yeah.
although my divorce was not bad, I mean, mine was good, but I mean, it just, it's nice to give people a shift, but it's nice to know, oh, gee, that's 88% gross
Mhm.
profit margin versus this one is 72. Like, maybe we should do more happy law. Those are pretty
Right.
good.
Well, and like in my firm, when I used to own my firm before I sold it, for years I refused to take probate. Not because I didn't like it necessarily. I mean, it's numbers, it's detailed stuff, but I have no follow through. And so, I mean, I had to have other people who could do the follow through. Um, but it was my highest profit margin when we decided to do it. But then it made, when I decided to do it, it's because I knew I could hire both a lawyer and a paralegal, but 95% of the work was paralegal work, which increased the profit margin so much. And yet I still didn't want to do it, but it benefited the firm
Yeah.
over what I did love to do, which was our Medicaid cases, our veterans benefits cases, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it just helps you make better decisions for the good of the business.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
was just gonna put it up here, this little banner of know your numbers for better decisions. I mean, and that's what it's about being a leader is you've got to understand and gather the most intel you can so you can assess the information, make your best most informed choice. And if you're just making decisions on subjective beliefs, that's not a good situation. You've got to have some of that objective data that's going to verify and say, okay, yes, we're on the right track, or no, we need to do something different.
Well, and let me take it to something more personal, right? How many business owners do you know, Kristen, that are just overwhelmed, tired? They would say they're burned out. And when you say to them, or when you ask them, how many hours do you work per week? You know, unless they chart that, they're guessing. And we always over guess. It's like, oh, I'm working 60, 70. Really? Are you? And how much of that is on the business? How much of that is in the business? And
Yeah.
now we have no idea, right, of any of that. But if we did know that stuff, right, then
Yeah.
we could change to have better lives, to not be so overwhelmed or burned out. And we might actually love our businesses again.
Yeah. I every month my EA and I do our kind of monthly calendaring, looking ahead for the next couple of months and just taking and assessing. Okay, and literally we were saying, okay, Kristen, you're supposed to have this many marketing hours and this many like creative content hours
Mhm.
and this many, like in the trenches doing work and so but it was knowing those numbers. It was looking at those and saying, okay, we need to realign a couple of things. We need to break some things out. But it also helped me to pull the trigger and say, okay, yes, I need to move forward faster on hiring those next two people. Like that is
Mhm.
not something I'm enjoying doing. I didn't realize I was spending that many hours doing it. And it was like, okay, we got it. We need to get that off Kristen's plate. So
Mhm.
those numbers helped us, just even EA to CEO, have that conversation of like, okay, we need to filter this out. We need to find a better way.
Well, and there's the hidden benefit right there too, is it helps have conversations with our team members. And oftentimes we're just so busy in the grind that we're just doing, and we're not having the conversations we need to have. And data helps us at least have a conversation starter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
And listen, I'm all for wanting more time for, I get lost myself in fun projects. Then I was like, whoa, okay, I need to tone myself down. But it also is great to know that, I've got those quarterly reviews already scheduled, and I know that I'll have some reports and data ahead of time to like help form that. It doesn't all have to be Kristen
Mhm,
micromanaging it and doing it. It's already in the work, so that's always a good thing.
mhm,
So listen, Victoria, we've known each other for a long time. I've known you from your law firm days. You came
mhm.
over and joined the UYB team for what, 18 months, 2 years or whatever it was. And now your business has exploded in growth. And I'm so excited
Mm.
for you, but I'm excited to have you back in Seattle in August. What are you looking forward to in this workshop?
Well, more so than just listening to all the data crunching, which I just love to do. But I mean, you've got some amazing speakers, and what I'm looking forward to mostly is just being there on site and being able to talk with people. I mean, I know we've been out of COVID for a year or so, but it just doesn't feel like it yet. And there's nothing as effective as being in the room with like-minded people that are here to help each other, to include the attendees. I can't wait to see, and speak with the other lawyers in the room or the other business owners in the room. So because that's where the magic happens. It's in the hallways, it's on breaks, things like that. Because just one small conversation, one small idea can go back and make, just the biggest impact on your business. And so I'm just looking forward to being in person, being with people that have the same energy that you and I have. I always love seeing Steph and Elise, getting my hugs. So yeah, I mean, all of it, the content, being in person and the people. What else do you need?
Awesome. Yeah, I too love, I mean, that's why we got a great deal with, I love the Edgewater Hotel. You're right down by the water. You got this inspiring views from like the sitting areas and the breakfast room, and you can literally have those conversations that are impromptu that you never pictured. You just happen to sit down with somebody from the group, and you might just have that, like, that amazing, like, hearing the story of what somebody else did, or someone's gentle suggestion of like, have you thought about doing X? And then you're
Mhm.
like, wow, that was like, that right there is worth the whole part.
Mhm.
Like that's,
Absolutely.
those are the golden moments.
Well, and when you leave your office and you get out of your walls, whether that's your house because you're virtual or, if you still have brick and mortar, when you get out of that environment, your mind is open to hear things that even if you heard that same thing inside your office, you hear it differently, and it doesn't have as much of an impact on you. So I think it's just so helpful that we do have to remove ourselves from our own environments on occasion so that we can be open to hear and to really absorb information.
Yeah. And listen, I'm a a perpetual learner. I'm always watching YouTubes and videos or attending, different online lectures, different things, but there is that magnetic element of being in person where you're finally focused. It's not just turn off the Zoom and then switch your brain into something else. When you're there, the speaker might lead speaker might stop speaking, but everybody in the room is still talking about that stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
it helps anchor that all in. So, well, I know I am super excited to have you and everyone else come to Seattle. It's a beautiful time of year in the Pacific Northwest. June, July, August is kind of unbeatable.
Yeah.
Um, so if you were talking to somebody who is on the fence about whether to pull the trigger, get signed up, book a ticket to come, what would you say to them? What would you say if to help them make a decision?
Here I'd say, there really, you know, isn't a question. Uh, it's a decision. And what are you waiting for? We are right at the, midpoint of this year, 2024. We don't get the first half back, but we can have a huge impact on the second half and really set up our success for 2025. And, if you're teetering and teetering, I would say, Kristen, let's take that boot you got behind you and let's, I mean, we need to put it up somebody's. behind, and get them in the room because there is no question. It's just
Yeah.
a decision. I mean, there's not an I can't wait to be there. So I just say, people, I mean, if you are serious about your business and you want to stop being in the grind day to day, feeling like you're making a difference for you and your firm and your employees, actually show up to this workshop, the leadership workshop, and truly make a difference. You'd be coming back to your office as a new person.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I don't think I could have said it any better. That was an awesome wrap up.
Thanks.
Victoria, I can't wait to see you in just less than 60 days. It's going to be awesome.
Great. I can't wait.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Bye.